Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives on how to approach a career in the field from different artists, producers, engineers, and other great minds who share their stories on not only what's made them succeed, but also what has shaped them into the people that they are today. I hope you gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you in your endeavors on your own journey towards success as well. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone to episode 170 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creators Series. Today I welcomed a good friend of our former guest D-Dot. His name is Fingaz. He is from the Virginia area. He specializes in a lot of music in the sync space, which is film and TV. We've obviously had some different people in sync before, but I'm always happy to get a fresh perspective, and when he reached out to me, I was happy to have him on the show. We got to talk about his influences growing up in the church, what he learned from playing keys during that time of his life, and then being influenced by local producers like the Neptunes and Timbaland, and how that led to him shifting to being in the sync world around the time of the pandemic. He talked about organizing different events at NAMM, doing his own Facebook group with a lot of different people, and just giving back to the community and really lending his wisdom to other people that are looking to be in the space, which I think is very commendable. Overall, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does and really just tapping in with all the content he's putting out, his YouTube channel, everything that he's going to be doing coming up at the end of this year and the beginning of next year too. So I'm looking forward to also having him on this show again very soon, and I hope you guys enjoy this one, especially if you're looking to get your music into film and TV in the future. So without further ado, let's get into this one. Alright, so welcome everyone to episode 170 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creators Series, and today we have a great guest once again. Actually someone that's involved in the sync world with film and TV, good friends with our colleague D-Dot as well. I'm glad this guy reached out to me. Please welcome Fingaz to the show. How are you, man?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for that great intro.
Yeah.
Welcome.
No problem, man. And like I said, I'm happy to have you here. Happy to get to know more about you today. So to start off every episode, we have the guest give some more background as far as how did you get into music? How long have you been at it? Just some basic info for those that might not know you and what you do.
So I am, growing up, let's start with day one. No, I was taking piano lessons. My mom had all of her kids in piano lessons. I have 3 sisters and 1 brother, and I stuck with it all through school, and went to college for music. Got a Bachelor of Music from James Madison University in Virginia, grew up in Virginia, and then ended up wanting to figure out Pro Tools, because in college all I kept hearing was you have to learn Pro Tools. Got certified in Pro Tools from a school in Maryland, and from there got a job working at National Geographic in DC, running the recording studio there, recording podcasts and music programming and things like that. So it was like dream job in the studio, at work, and then playing at church. So I played piano and organ at church all the way up until the pandemic, and then the church went virtual, and then I started looking into sync once the church went virtual and dove in sync licensing. So 2020, I entered over 200 music contests. 2021, flipped the contest mentality to sync, and then 2022 started learning about trailer music, and this year putting it all together, the sync, the trailer music production, and I was literally working on a sync just before this chat. So yeah. It's a daily thing. I enjoy the chasing it. Right now I'm in the enjoyment stage of it, so yeah.
Awesome, man. And I'm definitely excited. Like I said, I've only had a few people on here that have done sync or are involved in that world as well. So I'm excited to ask you more about that, coming up here in the episode. But I first want to start off with your influences, because you did say obviously family and church. That was a big part of it. Now, I read on your website that there were some other producers, local heroes, things like that influenced you. So let people know, who were you listening to growing up, or even now, that you're inspired by that helps you to do what you do?
Growing up, definitely being in Virginia, producers like Timbaland, Danger Hands, who's Timbaland's protege, Jones, Pharrell, Chad, Teddy Riley, and then being close to DC, like go music, being um, Maryland, there's like, Chris Brown, and then Trey Songz in Virginia, Missy Elliott. So there's been a lot of that influence, and then funk. So there is a lot of influence from the area. And then growing up at home, my mom, I played in church, like I said, so my mom always had gospel music playing, and my dad is Jamaican, so he always had Jamaican music, and my brother's Jamaican also, so he had like the contemporary Jamaican artists. My dad had like the older artists, like the Bob Marley and things like that. So it's like a melting pot of different genres of music.
It's cool when you can take in all that different inspiration too, and kind of then infuse it into like your own sound over time too. And I'm sure it probably changed even like throughout the years to where you're at now, where it's like, you've probably sharpened your skills a lot more over the years and just gotten better. And then you kind of hear where, those influences come into play. So that's super awesome to hear. And I'm definitely intrigued because, you said you made the shift to doing music for sync more recently as well. So I know just from what I know, my background info on sync in general, it's very specific. Like if they send you these briefs, you got to be very like on it as far as being able to score the scene or whatever it is, and that you really have to give them exactly what they want to even have a chance to make it. So give us like, what do you think was the biggest challenge when you first got into this world, as far as even just getting your first placement? Like how long did that take? What do you think were some of the struggles that you faced early on, and some things you've learned since the beginning?
So I used to be in the sync a long time ago, and I just didn't realize it was sync. Where I signed like a bunch of beats to a library, and it would like show up. I would get BMI statements here and there, like $40-$50, and it would be songs that placed on like MTV or Road Rules or Real World or Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I just didn't think much of it until the pandemic. So the biggest struggle getting back into sync in 2021 wasn't that it didn't take long for me to land a placement, and that's a struggle because it happened so easy. Within a month of joining a library, I got a placement, a couple of placements on Starz, on BMF, or BMF on Starz, and it was like within a month. So I was like, oh, this is easy. But then after that, it was a while, and I had to start to figure things out. But the first one was so easy and so fast that I was just like, oh, I can do this. And it can be, but it's still work. But that first one came so easily. I thought it would be like every other day I'd be getting sync placements, and that wasn't the case. So I'm like, okay, this takes time to build up catalog and a repertoire, and joining different libraries and figuring out what they need and what they want, and tailoring your music to that. So I think the biggest struggle for me was having a quick first placement and sort of not having to wait and assuming that would be the norm, which it usually is after a while, after you're in the sync, you have the catalog and you start working with libraries and things like that. I
think that's the same even with like when you're working with artists too. I think when a lot of producers, they end up getting to work with like a big artist or someone that they admire, and then they're like, oh, this is awesome, so this is going to catapult me, I'm just going to start getting everything happening all at once. But then it's like, yeah, you're right, it doesn't always happen like that immediately. You kind of just got to keep putting in the work and keep going. So I love that you mentioned that, because I think that's very real. Like I think a lot of people have experienced that, even if it's not in the sync world, where they get like a big milestone that happens, and then they want to just the momentum has to keep going. But then it's like, we can't always control those things. You know what I mean? You just got to keep putting yourself in position to see those successes build over time. And so I think that's super awesome that now you're starting to see it come even more full circle and starting to happen more consistently too. So thank you for sharing that, and that's super awesome. What do you think? Because I know you've, just from what I've seen from your Instagram, you do a lot of things on YouTube. You do a lot of track breakdowns, things like that, to kind of push your brand and show people what you're doing, like behind the scenes too. So how do you think you've been utilizing social media, to build your brand, to get your name out there, and hopefully to give yourself more opportunities to work with different companies and different people as well?
Part of it is I post something every day, at least Monday through Friday. Might not be posting as much weekends, but at least one thing a day. To my main platforms are like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Those are like the main, and LinkedIn. And always connecting with people on LinkedIn and networking. So I post. I don't always post what I'm doing. I usually post what I want to to do. So I post like trailer music. I make trailer music. I might post, sync things I'm working on, or if I have an album that was released on a trailer library or a sync library, I might post that and share that, and that might lead to other opportunities. Or if I release music personally, I haven't personally released music in a while just because I'm focusing on building catalogs and albums for sync libraries. But I post something every day, and then I also do reviews of sample libraries, which are music libraries that composers and producers can use to make music. And I do reviews of those products for different companies, sometimes for the company directly, and then sometimes I do it on my YouTube. So it's like different things in the space, and I'm always making music. So it's like while I'm making it, I can just grab a quick video of the beat I'm working on, a quick 1 minute thing to just add to social media, or I can share the actual complete song. See, most of my music is like 2 minutes or less, so I can share that on social media and say, hey, there's something that I'm working on. Hope it lands on whatever trailer, or what trailer would you like to see it on, and start getting some comments and some feedback there. So, and the other way is when I do reviews of libraries, I post the sample or demo track I made with their sounds, and then I tag them in it, and then that's one way to sort of build the network with them, and then they can share the video on their social media, or they can copy it and put it on their product page. So there's different ways and avenues that I can use social media just to market myself, me as a brand, and the music that I'm creating.
Yeah, and I think a lot of artists and producers, they kind of overthink the whole social media thing. You know what I mean? It sounds like what you're doing is very simplified. Like you're just taking what you're already doing and just showing people like, hey, here's what I got going on. And then those people that enjoy that will find it and reach out or whatever. Have you had a lot of people like reach out for opportunities, like finding those videos and things like that? Have you had any specific instances?
Just the most recent one, I can't share too many details, but it's basically a producer of a movie reached out. It was like, hey, are you interested in composing for my next film? And I was like, yes. I landed an opportunity to work on music for Disneyland just by posting neoclassical trailer project that I released last year, and it got to the hands of people who were working on this exhibit at Disneyland, and they were like, hey, this type of music would be great for an attraction we're updating, and would you be interested in composing the music? And of course I was like, yes. So just things I wouldn't have thought of just from putting out music. I've landed a movie from SoundCloud, just posting music that I'm making on SoundCloud. So you just don't know who's where. The difficult part is distributing the music, because you do have things like, I use a company called Hard Drive, HRDRV, which is like DistroKid and TuneCore, but way better. And I upload my music to that platform, and they distribute it to the Titles and Apple Music and Spotify's of the world. But there's still some platforms that don't have integration with those distributors yet, such as SoundCloud and Bandcamp, which can be other avenues of getting opportunities or monetizing your brand.
Yeah. It's definitely, it kind of goes back to, and you kind of just said it, as far as like, you don't know who's listening and who's watching, you know what I mean? So just being consistent, like showing up, like you said, you show up like Monday through Friday and you're always posting something. That's kind of how I've always approached content too, is like, I feel like if you're just giving yourself those opportunities and putting yourself out there, something good is about to come your way. You just don't know when. So I definitely think that's super awesome, and something that a lot of people can do, and just finding your own ways to do it as well, because it sounds like you have that figured out now to an extent where you're like, this is the content that I create, this is how I'm going to get people to see what I'm doing, and eventually reach back out and want to work and things like that. So congrats on that, man, because that sounds like it's super awesome, and a lot of great things are coming your way now. That's definitely great, man.
Thank you.
And as far as like, let's just say, maybe not advice, but maybe anything you could tell to producers, composers, anyone that's looking to get into sync, because like you said, even the last few years since the pandemic, sync has taken off even more, because a lot of people lost opportunities for income because of the pandemic. They needed to shift to other things. So people have been looking into sync, they've been researching it more. What would you say to those people that want to do it, or they at least want to look into it? What would be something you tell them?
One would be to join. I have a Facebook group called Syncrets to Success, so NYCRETS TO Success. I also just started a podcast on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com/Fingaz, which is my producer name, DAFINGAZ, I'm doing 30-day intro into sync. So each day of August, which also happens to be my birth month, I'm doing an episode, like 5 to 10, maybe 5 to 20 minutes on YouTube, just sharing like an aspect of sync licensing. So we're 3 days in, so got 27 more to go. But that's one way. The other is to go out to conferences or even virtual conferences. There are, I would say, at least 3 different virtual sync meetups a week from different organizations and companies, libraries. There are some Facebook groups, including the one that I have, that you can join. And they're doing virtual meetups where you can meet music supervisors and sync libraries. Some of them you have to pay to attend, or it might be free to attend, but if you want to have them to pitch your music or to play your music, you might have to pay for that. And sometimes, I've seen people play their music, and I've seen like the library or the music supervisor like say, send me this now. This will be great for a project I'm working on, and it can happen just like that. So definitely once you get into sync, be ready. You have to be signed to PRO, which is in the U.S. BMI, ASCAP, or CSAC are the main ones in the U.S. So you want to be signed to them as a writer, and it also helps, especially when you start having music placed in foreign projects, to have your own publishing company. So you want to just make sure you understand the aspects of the business, and then once you have that set up, and of course you have to have the music, you have to understand what libraries are looking for. They might send you briefs for specific songs, specific guidelines to the type of music they want for their scene or for the movie. You have to learn how to adapt that. They might send references, which could be a Spotify playlist or YouTube links, and they might say, hey, we need a song like Happy by Pharrell. So you have to figure out how to make your version of Happy by Pharrell without infringing on the copyright of Happy by Pharrell, because that's a big song. So as creators, we have to figure out how can we sort of take those references and create our version of that without, being accused of, stealing that song. Yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of ways to go into it. Like I said, there's a bunch of great communities to join and to learn from, or Google, which is also a great aspect. And the other thing is to go out in person. I put together a panel at NAMM this year, the largest African American panel on sync licensing that NAMM ever had and ever will have. It was eight of us up on stage, and I put that together of some of the biggest names that I've been following in the sync space on social media. And if you just go to like Instagram, #sync or sync licensing, and start just going through the posts that show up and start finding people and bookmarking them and just seeing what they're saying and learning from them. Yeah. It's not, I don't want to say it's not difficult, but you can learn about sync in like a weekend just by doing some research online and figuring out some things.
Yeah. Hey, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know how you can become a monthly supporter of the show. So if you click on the show description in your podcast platform, you'll see the words support this podcast toward the bottom, and you can follow that link to sign up. You have the options of donating $1, $5, or $10 a month, and that'll be used towards making the show a better experience for you as the listener. That means new and exciting guests, giveaways, and a lot more that we can continue to provide for you. So feel free to click that link and check it out, or visit anchor.fm/provenknowledge/support to contribute today. And for now, let's get back into the episode. I've definitely always viewed it as one of those things where you can't get ahead of yourself. You know what I mean? And I think as like, even as artists and producers, I think we tend to like want to be at the next stage like so soon. I think sync is like the ultimate like test of like, you got to make sure you know what you're doing. You got everything in order. You're ready to go. Like, so I think if, when people look into it, they really got to understand that too. But I think over time it'll pay off. You know what I mean? And I just think learning those things, and like I said, like we said, with someone like yourself, where you already have that expertise and you're sharing that with others, that's a huge thing. Just giving back and giving people that advice to kind of help move them in the right direction too. So I think what you're doing is incredible for the community as well. And I'll have to look into the Facebook group because I'm definitely intrigued with that as well. And happy early birthday. I don't know what day your birthday is, but happy early birthday,
It'll
man.
Be, thank you. It'll be 26.
Awesome.
So,
awesome,
man. A little ways away, but
yeah.
Close enough.
Awesome, man. And definitely, like I said, just very cool that you're doing all that stuff. And NAMM, man, I got to make it to NAMM one day because I saw it was in the spring this year. because I know
was,
last
yeah.
year it was in June, and I was trying to make it out there, but then this year I was like, I'm not going out there till July, so I'm not gonna be able to make it, but
Yeah.
one of these days for sure, because that's definitely a
Yeah,
place where you
NAM
can meet
is
a lot of cool people there. So
yeah, I made some great connections with some libraries. I'm now a Hammond artist. Hammond is the organ that I would play in church, and met them and had a great chat with them, and ended up, being joining their community. So now I'm a Hammond artist. But NAM next year will be January. So I know it was June last year. Last year was my first year going in person. It was April this year, and then next year will be January. So
mm,
they're getting back to their schedule, and hopefully I'll be there because I'm working with them on putting together some other sync panels, and they're investing a lot more into sync discussions next
yeah.
year. So fingers crossed that I'll be there also in person.
Yeah, super awesome, man. And once again, congrats on all of that for sure.
Yeah, thanks.
And as far as, let's say outside of music, outside of sync, everything else, as far as your day to day life, what do you think you're doing to free up creative space in your mind to kind of, help you out, move forward, to even take a break, like hobbies, anything you want to share that helps you on the day to day to keep doing what you do in music?
Yeah, so I do. Well, I'll share both two sides. I work full time, so I still have to work to pay bills until that music will cover costs, and I can
Mm-hmm.
focus more on music. So I have to make sure I literally can't fall asleep at night unless I make music, no matter what time I get home.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm usually up until 2 or 3 in the morning making music anyway, and I have so much. I work with a lot of libraries, so I have a lot of briefs and albums to work on that I just have like a bunch of tabs open, so I can just go to any tab and be like, oh, they want this music. Let me just work on an idea for that tonight. So I always have music to work on. And then the other part of it is I have a wife and 2 kids, and a lot of the time that I'm in my music room now, that I can spend it here is because my wife, she's been a stay-at-home mom for 16 years. So our kids are getting older. But she allows me that time to be creative while she takes care of, the house and the
Mm-hmm.
kids in the evenings. So usually go to work, get home, let's say 5, 6-ish, sometimes later, spend time with family, and then usually making music. We also have a dog, so we walk the dog in the evening, and then make music until 2 or 3 in the morning, and fall asleep and do it all again the
Mm-hmm.
next day.
I definitely feel that about you have to make something every day because that's where I'm at too, man. I'm like, it doesn't
Yeah,
feel right if I don't. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like it's almost like you got to get that creative itch out of your system almost every single day and
yeah,
just kind of
yeah,
get. But it's good to be in that almost repetitive stance as far as the creative side goes because I think that once you're there, you kind of get in that zone. You know what I mean? It becomes a lot
yeah,
easier to do it. So I definitely feel that 100%. And trying to juggle a job too, it's a lot. But I think
yeah,
when you really care about all that stuff, you find ways to make it work. You know what I mean? And you
yeah,
find like ways to make it kind of all balanced together and as healthy a way as you can. So definitely hats off to you with that. And
yeah.
especially having
Thanks.
family too, that's a lot to deal
Yeah,
with. But it's good to hear that you have a good system going. Um,
yeah.
what do you think is something that maybe for the rest of the year, what do you think is a big goal that you have set out, or maybe a project that we should be on the lookout for? Like, what do you think is the next big step for you? That's gonna involve the community, or just something that you want to let people know about?
Personally, my biggest goal uh, was to last year was to land a Disney trailer, and I still haven't. But I did, get close with Disneyland. So that's still a personal goal is to land Disney trailer, which could be any Disney, Marvel, Pixar, Star Wars, any Disney property.
Mm,
So that's a personal goal, and you know to land at least one, but more than one would be great. But at least one, if that can happen by the end of the year. Just more projects, and more family time. Hopefully, I can get some more time off of work and more vacations. I am getting asked to speak at different events now about sync, so I have to go to New York to speak at a writing camp in a few weeks. So different things that are coming from just from learning about sync and teaching about sync, and also diving in and doing the sync stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, doing trailers, which is a whole other beast and other side of things. But the big goal is the personal goal is to land Disney trailer.
Yeah.
The Facebook group itself, sort of more of an immediate goal. We're at about 970 members. So I would love to get to 1,000 members in that group by the end of this month. Definitely, or it would be great if I could get there before my birthday, which I think we can. So we're only 30 members away from that, and then maybe I'll do either a giveaway or do something for the group, the community there. Maybe some plugins if I can find some plugin developer friends to donate a plugin or something.
Yeah.
But to get to 1,000 members in that group, and yeah, just keep focusing on the sync licensing space. I mentioned NAMM. I'm also working on I think it'll be virtual sync conference to be probably early January with some great people in the sync space. They connected with me, linked up, and asked me if I would want to be a part, and I said, of course. So be on the lookout for details on that. I'll be posting about it on social media once we get all the details figured out. But looking at, I think maybe leading up to NAMM the weekend before, doing some type of virtual sync conference there. So, yeah.
You're definitely staying busy, man, for sure, and a lot of exciting stuff. Yeah. So that's awesome. And I was gonna say Disney owns so much property at this point, man. I'd say the possibilities are endless with that one. So I think you're definitely gonna get there, man. It's just a matter of time. So that's super awesome. Last few questions here. These are ones I ask on every episode. They're more life related. So the first one is, if you could go back 10 years ago, maybe give yourself a piece of advice, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
Oh, I definitely changed. Was this 2023? So in 23, I was playing in church, and I would have it. I guess it would sound terrible, but because I invested so much time playing in church, time away from family, learning songs, working with the choir, and I mean, some of the best musicians in the world play in church. So I learned some great things. But if I got out sooner, I know I would be a lot further now on the other side of things, like sync and things like that. So I probably would have told myself, I know everything seems, good now, but start, learning about sync right now. Like, stop what you're doing, get into sync, and then get into trailers and, figure it out. And that's like, now I'm like, let's say a year, 2 years in. So that's where I'm going to be in like 11 years. Yeah. But 10 years ago, or in 8 years. So 10 years ago, I would have told myself to get into sync like right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that I follow, a lot of the guys that I had on the panel, they have been doing sync for like 10 years, and that's why they are where they are in their sync journeys. So it's I know it's a journey. I know I'm just starting it out, but learning the things and figuring things out and finding the libraries, making the connections, planting the seeds. So I would tell myself to definitely get into sync ASAP.
Yeah. And if we flip that then and we say 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself in the sync world, in life, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so I wouldn't mind. My wife really wants to move to California, and daughter. So if we could do that way before 10 years, that would be great. Or maybe have a house in another location. I would like in 10 years definitely be making music full time, way before then, but predominantly passively from like sync trailers, things like that, in 10 years from now. Just enjoying life by then. The kids will be long out of the house, so just enjoying life at home with my wife and spending time with our family.
Yeah. Nothing more you can ask for than that, man. At the end of the day, That's super awesome. And do you have any final words of wisdom today for the listeners?
Let's see. What should be the final words of wisdom today? I'll say you never know who's watching, and just because you might post something on social media or YouTube, and you might only get 5 views or 10 views. You never know who's watching. I posted a video on YouTube 3 years ago about contests. So I said 2020 I entered over 200 contests. So I did a video on YouTube, like a 30, 45-minute video about why I enter contests, how I find contests. I even put out like a whole contest course that year. And I was not discovered, but there's a producer, engineer, and producer and songwriter named Ken Lewis, and he saw my video. He has over 120 gold and platinum records to his name. He just got 3 or 4 songs on Taylor Swift's album he worked on. He's worked on, I think, every Kanye album before the gospel era. He's mixed on every BTS album, so he has like credits. Mm-hmm. And he found the video I posted, and he was going live. He has a Mixing Night YouTube channel called Mixing Night Audio, or Mixing Night with Ken Lewis, and he just shares mixing secrets and songwriting, and he goes into some of the sessions he did and how he mixed them and put them together. And he found a video that I did on contests, and he asked me to just do a one-on-one chat with him for his community about contests and finding like free plugins and things like that. So I did that, and then a couple weeks later, he was like, "Would you want to join our community or join my show and just do a segment like every once in a while?" And that turned into I ended up doing a segment every episode since then, and we just had one yesterday. And it started out, I think at that time it was 2 episodes a week, then it went to 1 episode a week, and now he's at 1 episode a month because his schedule was crazy. He's making the biggest records in the world. Mm-hmm. But just to be recognized or acknowledged, and again, that was from a video that I posted on YouTube that when he saw it probably had, I think it had to have less than 50, maybe even less than 20 views. And even when I told him that, he was like, "Well, I was one of those views." So you just never know who's watching it. It's not how many, as long as the right people are watching.
Yeah. Exactly, man. And that just goes to show, everybody out there, don't get discouraged, and definitely keep building your digital footprint, because you don't know where it's going to take you. So I definitely love that. And man, that's all I have for you today. Like I said, man, I appreciate you for getting in touch with me and wanting to be on this show. And, I'm excited to see what you got coming up. I'm definitely going to tap in with the Facebook group and everything that you have going on, and we'll stay in touch, man. We'll have to do this again soon, like an update episode if you want.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in. Let me know.
Thanks, everyone, for listening today. That was episode 170. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit the support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send any funds. And feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you then. Thanks, everyone.